Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen, senior members of UWC staff, our Acting Director of Institutional Advancement, Ms. Amanda Philander, members of the Directorate of Institutional Advancement and its Alumni Relations Office. Special welcome to all our guest speakers and most importantly, our young alumni. Welcome to the first ever UWC Young Alumni Virtual Series. And thank you for joining us today and supporting the Alumni Office. And most importantly, for supporting your alma mater, the University of the Western Cape. By way of introduction, I'm Niven Marie, the UWC Alumni Relations Manager, and also your host and moderator for the session for today. So just to give you some perspective, or at least context, in terms of the Young Alumni Virtual Series, it was born, I'd go as far as saying in 2018, when the project as a pilot was done in collaboration with the UWC's Career Services, and since then it has grown. It has continued to grow, and this series is a commitment from us as the Alumni Office, and I think as UWC, to all alumni, particularly our young alumni, in order to be able to offer value to you and to your personal and future career growths. So please note, ladies and gentlemen, the topics and the themes that have been selected for today have all been identified by our young alumni community through a survey that was conducted amongst, from the young alumni constituents, and we're incredibly encouraged by the feedback that we have received, and we'd like to continue to encourage our young alumni to continue sharing with us, the Alumni Office, to be able to ensure that the offering that we give to you is always on point. So, as many of you may know, UWC celebrated its 60th anniversary in 2020, and that in itself was an incredible milestone. If we look back at what UWC was established as during the apartheid regime, I don't think anyone would ever have thought that we would be where we are today, that we would be an institution of such magnitude and an incredible wealth of knowledge and consistently pushing the boundaries of academia and sport and on several levels. So, ladies and gentlemen, not to dwell on the past, it's all about our future, it's all about you, our young alumni. And as such, it gives me great pleasure to introduce some of our colleagues and participants in today's session. So first and foremost, I'd like to welcome my colleagues, Ms. Charlene Duncan, who is the Director of the UWC Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I'd also like to welcome my good colleague, Ms. Nazrana Parker, who is the Coordinator of Career Services. I'd like to welcome Dr. Alex Granger, author, life coach, and business consultant. Ms. Sheila Yabo, program manager at UCT's Graduate School of Business and the Solutions Space. Ms. Patricia Hendricks, founder of Leadership, life transition coach, and leadership development trainer. And Mr. Donovan Mulder, founder and CEO of Connected Skunk IT Solutions, as well as Mr. Hayden Peterson, who is HR Director at Unilever, and Ms. Cindy Cancross, who also forms part of the talent acquisition, talent management team at Unilever. I'm also very pleased to say that many of our guest speakers today are UWC alumni. and they've given, generously given of their time to be with us today. So before we get started with today's session, there are just a few very basic house rules. Due to our limitation on times, we're hoping to be able to afford everybody an opportunity to contribute, but we do urge our attendees and participants to adhere to the house rules. And please note that the session will be recorded. The recording will only be used for purposes for the furtherance of the Young Alumni Virtual Series. No information will be disclosed to any third party, but if you wish to maintain your anonymity, please keep your cameras turned off during the session, or you can edit your identity. Also, to ensure that the session runs on time and to ensure minimal disruptions, please ensure that your mic is muted unless I, as the moderator, ask you to unmute yourself. Also, there will be Q&A sessions after each presentation. Questions will be limited, incredibly so, and moderated by myself and my colleague, Ms. Najma Desai. And any questions can be posted into the chat box during the course of the session. And we'll select the most pertinent questions to each of the respective topics and speakers. If, ladies and gentlemen, non-adherence to the basic house rules or any disruptive behavior, any Zoom bombing will not be tolerated, and as such, individuals will be removed from the session. I'm sure that there are going to be many questions that are going to emanate after the session. And as such, I invite you as all our attendees and our alumni to post your questions to the Alumni Office at alumni@uwc.ac.za post-event, and we'll ensure that the questions are directed to all the relevant speakers. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you our first speaker, who is our UWC Career Office Coordinator, Ms. Nazrana Parker. And Nazrana, once again, thank you very, very much for being with us today and taking the time to share with us your knowledge and expertise.
Thank you, Niven, and it's always a pleasure to be here and to be collaborating with the various departments on campus. I think by working together, we obviously support our students and alumni much better. And like I told you in 2018, and obviously it is a dream realized now that these collaborations need to continue. So I'm very happy to be proud to be part of this seminar. Okay, so let's just get into it. So I've got a lot to cover, and I usually take 3 hours or at least an hour for each of these topics. So I've been given 30 minutes, and I hope I can do justice to these 3 things that the Alumni Office has asked me to touch on. Like Niven has mentioned, please feel free to pose your questions in the chat group, and we will see how much we can answer. But I think at the same time, today's session for me is more of a sounding board for you, and for you to question specific things in your life at this moment, whether it is your job search, whether it's currently where you are in your career journey, or whether it is you deciding on what the next move is going to be. And my speciality, of course, from the careers of a service at UWC, focuses on helping the young student or recent graduate enter the world of work. So for those of you that are in the audience that are perhaps experienced individuals and have perhaps graduated a number of years ago. I trust that my colleagues that are co-presenting today would be able to assist you if I am not able to do that today. So I just need to put that out there. Let's quickly get started. I think the first thing that I would like to share with you is this concept of soaring and understanding what your career means to you, and just unpacking, you know, how you are going to determine your career trajectory. So first things first comes self-assessment and identifying what characteristics define you and what you want to be and where you want to go in your life, in your career. And then secondly, focus on identifying opportunities and making or having realistic aspirations. And I think I need to stop in terms of and focus on aspirations, because in the 15 years that I've worked with students, both in an NGO sector and at UWC, I find very often that I'm the one that needs to burst the bubble of the young person, and getting them to really look at their aspirations and make more realistic choices and have a plan A, plan B, and plan C for life. Because overall, that's where we are. We are on a journey of life, and we need to prepare, plan, and take action to make our goals a reality. And my colleagues and alumni and peers in the session will further demonstrate how important it is to be your own enabler as we go along in the session, and how important it is to have a mindset of that I am actively creating my career and I'm not depending on anyone else to make things happen for me. So this concept of SOAR by R.T. Kumar really stands out to me as a career service coordinator, helping young people into the world of work. And I hope that it adds value to you as well. So I've posed a number of questions in terms of you and your job search. And because of time, obviously, like I said, I usually spend an entire hour on just job search strategy for young students. But these are the questions that I often ask students when they walk into our office to say, I'm struggling to find a job. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do with my qualification. And there are some pertinent things that you do need to ask yourself before you can even decide on which company, which organization you'd either like to work for, or which project you'd like to turn into your own entrepreneurship venture. So ask yourself these pertinent things. Do you have concrete answers for these questions? Are you able to speak to the next person about these issues? Or are you still at the stage of, I don't know? Because if you are at the stage of, I don't know, we need to sit down and we need to talk. Okay, so I've asked Najma from Alumni Relations just to prepare a poll, because I'd really like to see who my audience is today. So if it's possible for Najma just to release the poll, and if you could answer the question in terms of where you are at as a UWC alumnus. Did you graduate prior to 2016 or after 2016? And I'll explain to you the reason why I'm asking this particular question in a moment. Okay, so I'll just give you a minute or two to answer that question. Najma, based on the attendees, you'd be able to say when you can close the poll. Hopefully everyone responds.
Nazrana, we have about a 56% of the audience voted. Is that fine for you? Or do you want another few seconds?
Another few seconds would be great.
Okay.
Okay, that should hopefully do it. And who are we speaking to today?
Okay, 35% of the audience have graduated prior to 2016 and 65% after 2016.
Oh. And the reason why I'm asking that is so that, you know, all of us as presenters, we know who our audience is and we're able to pitch our message to, you know, to you as best as possible. And I think the question that I always ask anyone that walks into our office or sends us a virtual connection request these days is that, you know, how are you or your actions, you know, aligned with your career goals? You know, what is your actual strategy? Is your strategy a spray and pray? Or are you quite selective and strategic in how you go about navigating your job search? And then the next question that I always ask or I ponder about, are you marketing your degree or are you marketing yourself? Because as all of my interns would say, my most common phrase to students is, recruiters don't hire the degree, they hire the person with the degree. So how do you market yourself in addition to your theoretical knowledge and all of the other experiences that has made you who you are and the skill set that you have on offer? And that's extremely crucial. So that two questions I would pose to the 65% or the ones that are currently in the job seeking stage of their career. Then the other 35% that are attending today and are contemplating you know, either making a career change or starting their own venture. How ready are you truly to take that leap? You know, and how much research and preparation did you do? And hopefully you are here today because you are looking for support, you know, to do just that. Then we are now living in a new world. We are living in the time of a pandemic. And a very crucial question that I always tell students, recruiters are going to ask you, how has COVID-19 impacted your life and your career goals? And more importantly, what has COVID-19 taught you about yourself? Are you truly able to answer this question? Have you actually reflected on this life experience of the last year, if not more? You know, and whether these reflections or the realizations rather are reflected in your personal brand. Has there been any change management in terms of the way you've previously saw the world, how you saw your career trajectory, and where you see yourself now? Are you the same person? And does this reflect anywhere, you know, whether it's your job search documents, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, your engagements with your family, your colleagues, and your customers? Because this is crucial in terms of the fact that you can't afford to stay, you know, stuck in life before 2019. And we've all catapulted into a new world. So you know, how ready are we for this change? Were we ready for this change somewhat? And how ready are we for life post-COVID? Now, students for the last 2 years, if you graduated in 2019 or in 2020, there were obviously no contact events on campus for you to engage in terms of recruitment. And definitely there were lesser opportunities advertised because companies were, you know, taking in less students or less graduates. So what has been your new strategy going forward? Have you been attending virtual networking events? Or have you just said, hang on, wait, I don't know what to do? What are the tools that you've utilized? So I'd really like to know if you could perhaps just mention in the chat box what all the tools you've been utilizing, and then I can check whether what I've prepared going forward is in sync with what, you know, you have been doing or not. Then, you know, and the reason I'm asking this is I'd like to know what resources our alumni are actually finding useful. You know, Do they believe that their campus is truly supporting them in terms of the job search preparation? Are they relying on the big ocean of the PNET, Indeed, Grad24 and LinkedIn's, or are they being strategic? So your feedback in the chat function would be, would be useful. Then the next question I think you need to ask yourself, how ready are you to work virtually, number one? And then also, how ready are you to freelance instead of waiting for that permanent role and a role that provides security and thereby disregarding any other learning opportunity? Another question I'd ask you to pose yourself, are you willing to look at opportunities beyond the popular brand names and the popular company names that you are familiar with? And lastly, are you continuously learning beyond the textbook and beyond the classroom? So I'm just going to give you a moment to let all of this sink in, and perhaps one or two of you can comment on your journey and where you're at and what your realizations were regarding your job search and life going forward post-COVID or starting to work during a lockdown. So if anyone has any comment to make, we can perhaps take a comment over here. Najma, if you can just tell me my time.
Nazrana, you have about 15 minutes left.
Awesome. Okay. So any takers for comments?
Iman, I see you have raised your hand.
Hi, so I do have a comment. I have graduated with an undergrad degree in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I have then went on to do an honors degree in 2018. Sorry, I graduated from that in 2019. My undergrad was from 2014 up to 2017. So my experience is that, once I've completed my studies, many of the companies that you apply to are looking for people with experience. So the challenge is that there are not many companies willing to take you without at least 3 years experience. So just having a degree is definitely not enough. That's the first point. And the second point is that, when you're trying to apply for jobs, you don't necessarily have the comfort of choosing where your job search should go and choosing what is suitable for you, because I found that it becomes the job search and the talent that is out there is so broad, and the competition is so much that any job that you do get is something that you need to take and hold on to. So you don't have much choice as to how you would want to project your own journey according to your job, So I think that is the challenge that you find. And because, life goes on and you've got bills, you need to basically take whatever you get. So I think that is a challenge that is found. I don't know if any of the other students find it, but I think that is the biggest challenge for me. And because now you can't really project your own job search and project how things would go, job-wise in the future, it's difficult to build, stable job experience, which is aligned, because now you are doing jobs that is not necessarily aligned to your degree, and hence that is at a disadvantage to you, because now you are going into a different direction as to what your degree is for.
Okay.
So I think that is the biggest challenge that I faced.
Thank you, Iman.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I said thank you very much for that. We'd like to be able to give Nazrana an opportunity to respond, but also just give everybody else an opportunity if there's anyone else in the forum that would like to, ask a question or pose a comment.
That is it for me. Thank you, Naveen.
Thanks, Iman.
Okay. So
Nazrana.
yes. So I hear you, Iman, and job search is definitely not a walk in the park. And it takes quite a bit of planning and preparation. And I think the challenge for young people is that they undervalue their own experiences. And when you mention 3 years work experience, every opportunity that we have advertised to students on via career services has been for students entering the world of work. So my advice to students is that companies want to see experience, yes, but they want to see what you've done outside of the classroom. And the challenge for young people is actually to believe in what they've done out of the classroom and see that it's worthwhile to adding to their CV. I've always told students, whether you are flipping burgers at McDonald's, whether you are working as a telesales agent at a call center for a retailer, or whether you're working as a tutor, all of these experiences are as important as your qualification. Because what the recruiter wants to see is your reflection and your skill set. Because the same skills that you've used at McDonald's, at the call center, and at in academia as a tutor are the skills you're going to need in the world of work when you're applying for that ideal opportunity that you're looking for. So my question I pose back to all of you is, where are you looking? And this is the biggest frustration for young people. They look in the big wide ocean instead of looking in the pool that is created for them. And I'm going to speak a bit about campus career service at the moment. So that's what I do want to implore to all of you. Don't undervalue everything that you've done out of the classroom. If your CV currently only speaks to you and your degree, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So put everything in your CV, because curriculum vitae means your path of life. It doesn't mean what's your degree. And every little bit of experience, whether it's related or aligned to your qualification or not, is as important. Because you then need to show how your experiences and the skills will add value to the organization that you are applying for. Knowledge can always be learned, right? New knowledge can always be learned, but your attitude, your the way you do things, your perception, your engagement with people, that goes a long way. And it doesn't matter what setting you have. So there's another question from Tahira, and I think this is the last question I'm going to take, and then I'm going to move on.
Nazrana,
yes.
Sorry, Nazrana, before you go further, so Jacqueline, Lemons, and then Tahira, those are the last two questions that we'll be taking. So Jacqueline, your hand has been noted. You may ask the question.
Okay.
Afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I agree with what you told the lady that posed the question. I forgot her name now, because it was the same with me. I had some difficulty with my CV writing skills, and then obviously I joined in. I don't know if you remember me, but then I joined in on the workshops last month at Career Explore Roster, joined in on those, and then I knew where I went wrong in terms of my CV writing skills. Joined in on the 2 workshops of letter of motivation and CV writing, and then took all the necessary steps that I needed to. Maybe it could be that she didn't also send in a CV to you or to Amber to review it properly. It's small things like that. And like I can happily say now, after applying for an internship within my field in information systems, that I made the cut for an internship. And maybe it's also, she's looking at the wrong place. Maybe you should also start out at a smaller company first, because I know everyone wants to work at the big companies because of benefits or whatever, but you can also start out at a small company. And the company I got the internship for, or the interview for, it's at a tech company, and I'm just praying that I will make the cut. So it was small things that I had to reflect on myself. maybe I'm not marketing myself properly, and with that, it was my CV that wasn't marketed properly. And then after attending the 2 workshops that Career Explorer hosted, I could improve and take the necessary advice that was given to me. So I just wanted to comment on that.
So thank you for doing what I wanted to do now. Okay.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Yes. So because of time, and as much as I'd like to, Navin and Najma can always send me the other questions, and then I can reach out to you for those that have posted questions in the chat box. But I just do want to say to you that is still in the job search space or job seeking space of your career, that every university, whether it's UWC or any institution, South Africa, across the world, most of us have support systems in place to help you navigate the job search journey. So we encourage you to use that. And UWC was fortunate enough that in 2017, we could launch an online platform. And obviously in the 2 years we had built on it, and come COVID, we were seamlessly able to, move online. And last year during the lockdown, we had, and this year, we had our highest number of students utilizing campus career services, which is absolutely awesome. So I encourage you, if you are a graduate from UWC and you graduated in 2017, you finished the degree in 2016 and you graduated in 2017, you have access to the campus career portal. Whether you're looking for your first job or even for your second job, you can still use your campus resources, okay? For everyone prior to that, I would strongly suggest you utilize LinkedIn to the max, okay? But just to give you a glimpse of the power of your campus career services, and you've heard it from your peers, I'm not going to go into that. But I do want to tell you that in essence, you can be anywhere in the world, you can be at home in your pajamas, in bed, and we can be helping you with either developing your CV. You've got a pocket full of employer profiles, job boards, events, and an online career service resource center where you can download a number of tools to help you strategize your job search or practice your interview skills. Now, Hiren, Anthea, Cindy, and some of the other names that I've mentioned yet, the senior, will all tell you how jealous they are because they did not have this when they were a student at UWC. And this month we've hit 15,000 users, which is a milestone for the universities in South Africa. And according to the company that created the product, we are actually flying the flag high across the African continent with the use of this career portal system. So make use of your campus career service and just let us help you strategize your job search. And because of time, let's move on. And why I want to speak about LinkedIn. I think, like Navin mentioned, many of us are first generation students. We don't have the who's who across the corporate sector, whichever sector that we do want to join, that we can just go to. Our network is not as great as what we'd like it to be. However, LinkedIn makes it so much easier for us to engage with people from our industries, to find mentors, to find the expert professionals. And this is the power of LinkedIn. So very importantly, you need to complete your profile, and those that I said have access to Career Explorer. There's quite a bit over there. If you are not able to log into Career Explorer, I will send the document to Alumni Relations and they can send it out to everyone to help you brush up your LinkedIn profile. Absolutely no problem. And this is where you need to be able to pitch yourself and what you have to offer. And LinkedIn has really revolutionized how they go about assisting young people or experienced professionals. I mean, even though I'm not looking for work, in the last 3 years, I've had so many job offers from LinkedIn. I actually had to make sure that my, open to work button is switched off, because the opportunities were just aplenty if you have a good profile. And if you're very strategic in terms of who your connections are and who you're engaging with. And this is the reason why I'm actually here today. to encourage you to build your connections. And you've got your WC as a community. And I mean, all of the speakers after me, most of us are UWC alumni. And Hayden will also tell you how many times I've referred students to connect with him and Cindy if they're going for an interview at Unilever. So, you know, connect with people that share your interests, that fly in your flock. And if you don't know where to start, you start with your WC alumni and you use the alumni tool on LinkedIn. When I did this presentation the first time in 2018, oh no, 2019, there were 41,000 listed UWC alumni. Within this last few years, it's jumped to 54,000. So it makes finding the needle in a haystack so much more easier. And the philosophy about UWC is that I don't think that there's any alumni that's not willing to help another graduate or nudge them with a bit of advice in the right direction. We might not all be able to offer you a job opportunity, but we are connected by UWs. And that has a special meaning to all of us. And even if it just means telling you, listen, I know that they're going to ask you this question, you better prepare yourself in answering that question. It goes a long way. So if you have ideal employers, the best thing to do is to go find out who from UWC is working or has worked at that organization to get some tips. And getting recommendations, engaging with people in your industries helps you to build your brand, you know. This is absolutely crucial. You can't say you are final year economics or a master's in economics student, but you can't comment on the issues that's happening in our country at the moment and us being downgraded another status. You need to engage in discussions. You need to demonstrate your interest in your field. And this needs to reflect all over. So use LinkedIn to be in the know and to be woke. Listen to TEDx lectures to help you connect with a number of people. And I've put everyone's name on here because I challenge you to connect and read up and follow UWC alumni and notable people beyond the Richard Bransons and the Bill Gates of the world. Find the influencers in your sector. Then my final tips, because I'm so scared I'm running over time, is to always keep your options open and diversify your risk as much as possible. Don't turn up your nose at entry-level jobs and don't wait for that dream job. And Iman mentioned earlier that she needs to, you know, sometimes you just need to take a job because you need to pay bills. Look at that as an opportunity for you to learn a specific thing or experience a specific thing in order to reach another level in your career. So try and see the silver lining in the most, you know, challenging of times, because every experience in your life is there for a purpose. And I'm sure the others will further unpack this. Apply to those lesser known companies, you know, volunteer at startups, because one thing the pandemic has definitely promoted is the opportunity for people to start their own initiatives and put their ideas into reality. And I challenge you to look out for opportunities at organizations that are not as well known as the big brands in South Africa or the world. And the power of your documents, your peer has mentioned it already. I'm not going to go into that. The power of your digital footprint is also very important. And remembering your value add. You know, it's not just about you when you are looking for a job. It's about you showing a prospective employer or a prospective funder for your business idea, you know, how either they need to run a successful business or the value that your idea can mean to the community or society. So remember the other side of the coin. Yeah, and like I mentioned to you, and this is my parting shot, as UWC Career Services, we are available to help alumni. And if you are currently an alumnus that has graduated within the last year, we can still review your documents for you. If you've graduated between 2017 and 2020, you still have access to Career Explorer. Please use it. And if you check your student mailbox and don't ignore emails from us. This is where you can find campus career services. We are situated at the Office for Student Development. That's why the URL reads the Office for Student Development. But I wish you everything of the best. And I know that the seminar is going to be an enriching experience, just looking up at the lineup of speakers. And I know you're going to take a lot away from today's session. So I wish you everything of the best. And I just want to tell you that COVID might be here now, but COVID's going to be a part in our life that we're going to look at, and we're going to say, this is what I discovered about myself during COVID. How has COVID made me stronger? What are the new things that I learned about myself during COVID? And remember to give yourselves a pat on the back for how far you have come. Don't underestimate your experiences, and know that each and every one of you has a contribution to make in this world. It's just about how we market ourselves, and WC is here to help you in doing that to the best of your ability. Thank you very much, everyone. That's it.
Nazrana, thank you very, very, very much for that insightful presentation. And I know it probably took a lot to condense your knowledge and experience into that time frame. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you know, thank you very much, Nazrana. I mean, key points that I think we need to, as our young alumni, you know, to have realistic aspirations, Nazrana, as you noted. And I think probably the most important, and this is what I have, you know, spoken to many of our young alumni. I see Tohira was part of the 2019 Alumni Phonathon, and was you know, to constantly encourage our young alumni to reach out, use the network, use the UWC alumni network to its full extent. So reach out to us via LinkedIn. Because we, you know, we have other connections who may not necessarily be visible or immediately visible to us, but it may make a bit, some difference and be of benefit to you. And then I think something else that you mentioned, Nazrana, is not to depend on others. You know, take responsibility for your own journey. And I think that is, you know, probably the one of the most important lessons to be learned is, as young alumni, we need to take responsibility of our own journeys. So, you know, with that, thank you very much, Nazrana, once again for your contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce to you yet another alumnus, Mr. Hayden Peterson, and Hayden is the HR director at Unilever South Africa, and his colleague, fellow alumna, Cindy Cairncross, talent and organization manager at Unilever Africa. They have the fortunate state and or situation to be in a beautiful sunny Durban, unlike us here in Cape Town. But you know, Hayden, Cindy, thank you very, very much for your willingness to be here today. We do understand that you would need to step off immediately after your presentations. Any questions that may come after your respective presentations, we will then pose to you for answering. But once again, thank you very much on behalf of the Alumni Office for availing yourselves to be with us today. Hayden?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Really excited to be here.
It's you on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. How's it going? Thanks so much. I had a whole introduction plan. But I'm going to hand over to Cindy because Cindy's going to kick us off. We are going to do this a little bit differently. Cindy and I both are drenched in slides every day in work, so we decided no slides. We are going to do this a little bit of a podcast style where we're just going to have a little bit of a chat and give you our respective journeys and also some insights into Unilever and how it works. Yeah, over to you, Cindy.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, H. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you are all good and enjoying our Cape Town's cold. So I hope it's not too cold. I just want to check, Najma, our sound, are we all good from both H and I?
Everyone's sound is good.
Okay, perfect, great. So firstly, I think a big thank you to UWC for having us. I mean, Heather and I were chatting about this the whole week. Super excited to be back with my alma mater, and especially for me specifically to be on this platform with my colleague, but somebody who was also my tutor at varsity. So really cool to be here. And I think you said a quick guy, so I think maybe let's, like you said, we're going to go into a bit of podcast style. We're really not going to do slides. We do too many decks every single day. That is our life, basically. And essentially what we just want to speak about today a little bit is our journeys. So our experiences, where we come from, our journey at Unilever. I think both of us have been at Unilever for a significant amount of time, as well as there were some key points that came up around open talent economy, networked organizations. We'll jump into that, speak a little bit about career development, some top tips. I know we have 15 minutes, so we must make this work very quickly
as possible and very
as quickly as possible.
Awesome.
But like Nazrana said, please do feel free to reach us on LinkedIn, add us, engage with us. We're always super happy to be part of it. So like I said, my name is Sue, born and bred Cape Townian, grew up in Impero. My mommy works at UW, so I can see her on the call. Our moms, hello. Started at UWC from baby, actually. I was at Campus Kids. And then literally continued my studies there. So I was in the EMS faculty, did an undergraduate BCom law, honors in industrial psychology, and started my master's in industrial psych. At campus, I love varsity. It was the best time for me. I think Hayden and I also became quite good homies there. I was actually part of the dance sport team, so did many USAs. I was one of the original rugby cheerleaders, one of the first. So I can definitely say I loved my life at campus. And then I got the opportunity to actually be part of the Unilever internship program in the beginning of 2015. So what that meant is I got there, I went there for a month, and essentially I had a project to do for 4 weeks. So when you come to Unilever as an intern or as a grad, you're not just making coffee or making photocopies of things, you're doing a real business impact kind of project. And mine was actually at the factory. I was the only intern based at one of our factories. I didn't know what I was doing. I was freaking out a little bit. But I actually really fully fell in love with the organization, the culture, the way they treat their people, and just what they do and what they stand for. Suppose that came back to Cape Town. I had gotten another job for about a few months, and then I got a call from the big U, and they asked me to move to Durban. So I was like, Moms, I'm going to Durban, pack my bag, was never ready for that. Moved to Durban, and I started off my journey at Unilever as being the strategic assistant and HR project officer. So reporting directly into the vice president as a smallie coming straight from campus was the most intimidating thing ever. Hiram would remember because he actually sat behind me for a few years in the office. So Unilever, we don't have offices, we set open plans. So no matter your work level, I mean, in terms of your director, manager, vice president, you're also open plan. Oh, almost knocked my water over. And yeah, so I started in that role. After 5 months in the organization, they actually approached me to ask me to get onto our Unilever Future Leaders program, which is our graduate program. And I was like, yes, cool. I don't know what this means, but let go. I'm keen to do this. And yeah, then I got onto the grad program, which is essentially an accelerated development program. Once getting on, it was, most of my time in factories. I think biggest achievement for me was running our home care factory. As a junior, I wasn't even a manager at that time. Population of over 500 blue collar operators and more than 150 white collar team members, and it was wild. It was a journey. I loved it. And then I moved to Joburg, then moved back to Durban, and I got promoted into the role of HR business partner for functions. So essentially, I partnered all our support functions across Africa. So that would be HR, finance, IT, legal, etc. So from a full Africa perspective. And then literally 2 months ago, I moved into the role of Africa Talent and Organization Manager. And I'm trying to think, how do I explain what this is? It's massive, it's massive. So essentially everything from culture, engagement for the Africa business is within my space, running the Africa talent agenda for all senior talent and key talent across the business, career development for organization. Big space under me also is employer brand, so digital employer brand, our attraction strategies, our graduate programs, our internship programs. Hiren has the glorious opportunity of looking after youth employability, which we'll chat a little bit about. And yes, I think it's been literally it's be my 6-year anniversary at Unilever next week, and I would not ever change my mind around what I've done. I think gotten amazing opportunities, like I said, and Hiren's journey is very exciting. So you'll hear after me, his is extremely exciting. But getting to move across South Africa for me, getting to move across South Africa, getting to support Africa, but also getting the opportunity to travel internationally a few times. So it's been a great journey, and we'll get into some of the more of the content in a bit. But H, you know, like I said, your story always has me excited. So please,
yeah,
do
no,
share
I mean, it's
journey.
It's a privileged story and a privileged journey. Thanks, Sim. Yours is just as exciting, and I love hearing your story. So I am Hiren, HR Director at Unilever. I studied at UWC. I'm from Upington, a very small town in the Northern Cape. And I started at Unilever in 2012, where I did multiple roles. I've been at Unilever for 8 years, and I've done 6 roles. So it tells you a little bit about the speed at which we develop our talent. I've also had the opportunity to work in Singapore, to work in the Philippines, to work in London, and just recently got promoted into this role 2 months ago. So I think the one standout thing for me is really just the trust that the organization places in its people and its talent. And that for me really kind of stood out because, as Cindy mentioned, you come in as an intern, they give you these massive projects where you like your eyes just pop open and you really feel the trust of the organization. But what it does, it really kind of accelerates your development in such a cool way. So yeah, that's my journey. I'm going to stop there because I am excited to ask Cindy the first question. So Cindy, as the T&O manager for Africa, you have obviously explained a little bit about what you do. Can you explain to us this whole concept of being resourceful, or this open talent economy concept, and how it's come to life in your space and in the job?
Sure, thanks, H. And I just see a question from Jacqueline saying your sound is echoing. Your sound is echoing a little bit, Hiren. Like it's like I don't know if you have your. I don't know.
Let me get some earphones.
Okay, cool. So and then you must say your journey again because I don't think people could hear it properly. So do you want to set up your earphones first? Because I wasn't sure of the. I just said be resourceful in the question.
We have
cool.
about 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So
sure.
yeah. So thank you.
We'll be fast. We'll be fast.
You've gone at it at a brilliant pace. Go for it, guys.
Very fast. So H, do you want to do your journey one more time?
Hi,
quickly?
Can you guys hear me?
Much better, much better.
Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm gonna summarize it quickly. I'm from Uppington, studied a BCom and BCom honors at UWC. Exceptional experience at my alma mater. I started in Unilever in 2012. I've been there for 8 years now. Done 6 jobs in my 8 years there, from business partnering, HR services. I've also done 3 international assignments in Singapore, the Philippines, and London. And 2 months ago, got the privilege of being promoted into this HR director job at 31. So I think this is kind of crazy. The one thing that stands out to me about Unilever is the trust that it places in its young talent. And when you join, you get these eye-watering projects where you're like, what the hell is this business thinking? But what it does, it quickly develops you and gives you that confidence to kind of really start developing fast. So I know we have a very short time. I'm going to ask Cindy a quick question. The first question to you, Cindy, is, you've explained to us the role you do at T&O. You lead for Be Resourceful, what we call the open talent economy. Can you just give us a little bit of a view on what that is and how it manifests in your role?
Yeah, sure. So, and I think Be Resourceful is something that I didn't touch on, but I think it's a pertinent point in terms of really fundamentals of what I do as well. So Be Resourceful for us is very much a framework that helps us operate with simplicity, agility, with the ambition to unlock capacity, right? And we look at it in this kind of wheel where we look at full-time people, youth, temps, freelancers. I know it was mentioned earlier, and how you redeploy work, etc., etc. And I think so in essence, OTE, Open Talent Economy. Sorry, we have lots of acronyms, so I must remember Open Talent Economy, if you may. And if we think of, I think one thing for me super exciting about how we operate in this space from an OTE perspective is we have this platform called Flex. So it's a global platform. Obviously, Unilever is a global organization. It's a platform anyone in the organization can log on, and you can look for anything that you want to work on as side in your job. So I can be working here in South Africa, but working on a project in London, 10% of my time. And you can search for mentors. It's absolutely amazing. I've actually worked on a sprint. So we also work in various agile ways. So from squad, sprint, scrums. I've actually worked in a sprint with a global team with somebody from India, Netherlands, London, and then me from South Africa in a space of a month to land innovation, got to get it done, and you sprint quickly. And I think the opportunities to find things that you want to do and also matches you based on your algorithm, your LinkedIn profile. That's why your LinkedIn profile is so important. When I see a good LinkedIn profile, go and look at Hirens. I would suggest you all do that. But it's absolutely amazing place that we have. And I think I just really do want Hiren to speak around a little. I think your role is very complex, right? And we are in a very networked and matrix organization. How do you feel that we provide the opportunities in this space? And I think more specifically for me around youth employability, as that is a big passion point for us.
Stunning question. So I think when we talk about network organization, I think, you know, more and more organizations are really seeing the value of having flatter structures, essentially meaning that we need to move fast to make a business impact, and things like hierarchy and work levels and all of these things that held us back in the past are not serving as a leader, essentially. So what I like about the network organization is that you have to move fast, that you really rely on the expertise of your people, irrespective of where they are in the organization or what run they are. And I think this manifests quite nicely. I think last year when I was in London doing a global employer brand job, where I was tasked to look at the youth employability strategy across the globe. We didn't have a strategy in place, and what we came out with was this massive ambition to impact 10 million young people and give them the skills they need to become work ready by 2030. Subsequently to actually moving to South Africa, I was so passionate, and Cindy talks about this concept of flex. I was so passionate about it that I added that to my job, and it wasn't in the job title, but now I'm also leading youth employability across South Africa and Africa as well. And the aim for us is to really kind of uplift young people and really move from just giving people the skills to become employable to really kind of driving employability within that segment within young people, because we know in South Africa our socioeconomic kind of conditions for young people are not the best, and we want to provide people with that opportunity. So that for me is a really kind of cool way in which network organizations, flatter structures, moving with agility, and just trusting the people to bring their passion and purpose into the work that they do, and how they can really have a massive business impact. So guys, I want to punt Level Up. So the program's name is Level Up. We're in South Africa. You can check it out at levelup.unilever.com. I'll drop the link in the chat. And really it's about, one, helping young people to find their purpose, to learn stuff like digital skills, organizational skills. And we also have mentors within the business that are signed up, willing to kind of, help young people with career journeys, which you can also sign up with. We have, I think, about 100 leaders in South Africa that have signed up for this program. So super excited. And I needed to fund that before I time this up. I think we have 1 minute left. So any questions?
Nevin's here telling us we're done. We ran through that.
I know. We ran over. I thought we had 1 minute. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I have a question. From my side, and I think it's probably going to be, well, hopefully picked up by Charlene and even and Donovan. I think it comes back to the point of agility and the gig economy, and what does the gig economy look like in the African business context? It's huge in Europe and in the US, but what does it actually look like? What does it actually entail in the African business context, and what are the opportunities for our young alumni within that space, Hiren and Cindy?
Yeah, so maybe I'll talk to one of the big challenges that we found, right? Because I think you're very right. There is an economic kind of lens when you look at the gig economy and the cost of becoming a gig worker. And today's, I mean, if you look at the COVID times, and people are not as economically viable as they were, last year. So it makes it more difficult. But that is the challenge that we have to solve for across Africa and South Africa. And we have that, their ability to do that. So one of the key ways that we are looking at, specifically with Develop, is to create that young talent pool of what we call the mainstream citizen, people that are come from all rungs of South Africa, and bring them into our business and create job opportunities for them. So that is what Develop is trying to do. So where we would have had maybe 20 temp workers, for instance, we're trying now to look at how do we bring in young people into that business that come from previously disadvantaged backgrounds into this position. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to kind of shift our business model to really kind of touch on that and make an impact in South Africa at large.
Yeah, I agree with you, H. And I think there's obviously things happening within the organization in terms of how we are thinking, Niven, and what our ambitions and where we want to go, but things we can't share further, obviously, right now, based on what we can. So I definitely want to add on, not add on, but really re-elaborate Hiram's point also on level up and the ambition, and, through this platform. And that's why it's not us really punting it, but it is just, guys, do please sign up, get involved, become part of our talent pool. And let's see how we can make this work and really heighten it going forward.
Hayden and Cindy, I think we're going to leave it there, ladies and gents. Due to time constraints, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Hayden and Cindy, and to the two of you to do, I think, justice to what it is you are able to contribute. I'd like to invite you to a separate webinar as part of the virtual series, where we can actually expand upon the discussion points and really deep dive. So Hayden, once again, thank you very much. Cindy, once again, thank you for your expertise and your willingness on a Friday when the weather's beautiful. So thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Niven.
Thanks,
and thank you,
really
everybody.
awesome.
Have a good day and enjoy the rest of the session. Okay.
Cheers,
bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ladies and gents, so wow. So many learnings coming through the session. And without further ado, I'd like to be able to introduce to you Ms. Patricia Hendricks. Ms. Patricia Hendricks is the CEO and founder of Leadership. So it's as mentioned in the introduction, it's all about personal mastery that Patricia is going to be looking at today. And I think it is absolutely critical for our young alumni to focus on personal mastery in their pursuit for personal as well as career growth. So without further ado, Patricia, a UWC alumna, thank you very, very much for availing yourself to be with us today. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow alumni, panelists, and staff members of UWC. I'm saying thank you to Niven. I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity to not just give back to my alma mater and you as fellow alumni that are embarking on the next stage in your emerging futures. I was part of the 80s class, the 80s decade where we didn't have a choice but to be leaders. And I often wondered how much of that still comes through today. And so I'm really grateful to be here. As Niven said, I'm going to be speaking on two what I consider to be very important life topics for success and fulfillment, so that you start engaging at an early stage of your growth into management and leadership already. So we're going to be talking about personal mastery, and then we're going to be talking about leadership. So we're going to be talking about personal mastery and conscious leadership. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, at Leadership, we are so serious about healthy leadership and creating the capacity for fulfillment in your life, because you can be successful but not feel fulfilled. And therefore, at the end of the talk, I am also going to offer a gift to everyone in this virtual room who wants to take the next step in their lives to personal mastery as a leader. I am, as I said before, so keen for our young alumni to have a roadmap to success and fulfillment. When I'm an 80s alum, as I said, and because we were working so hard at bringing freedom into the country, you all know the history of UWC and how involved we were. We didn't have a choice but to be leaders and to be leaders in our communities. I so wish at that point that we had, for me as a young 19-year-old, had the opportunity for this offer that I'm making you at the end of my talk. And so I'm asking you, please, 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 to just stay engaged in this talk. I know we're looking at the longer view. We're not looking at how you're going to get a job just tomorrow. So we're looking at the longer view, but I'm asking you to remain engaged so that you can, well, fully grasp the worth of the offer at the end of this. So can I share, am I able to share my presentation?
Go for it, Patricia.
I am, okay, great stuff. So let me just get this slideshow, come on, there we go. Slideshow, play from the start. Can you all see that? Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, we can.
It's up on the screen.
Great stuff. I'll take this out of the way so you can see everything. So we're talking about personal mastery and conscious leadership. What is the difference between a positional leader, so your boss at work, so to speak, and a conscious positional leader? You all know the statistics for anxiety and depression, and the rising statistic for suicide amongst younger and younger people. I mean, we have suicides at primary school level already, and the stress and tension people have at work. And so we find that 1 in every 4 people are on some kind of anxiety or depression meds. So we're wanting to bring to you, as you obviously are going to move into a leadership position in your life. We ask, is a leader born or made? And that's really not what we're interested in so much. We feel that everybody can become a leader in their own life, and hence the company is called Leaders Shape. It's for me about shaping my inner leader as I go through life at every and any stage of my life. So I'm saying there's so much fear-mongering, and that the tension between the two is why we have this very chronic level of anxiety and depression and so on. So you see then therefore why we're so keen to create an understanding of personal mastery. What is a conscious leader? First, let me say that consciousness and conscious leadership is the new frontier. We can access all information at any time we want to. We have a Google machine that we can access any information whenever we want. But how do I go forward in life if I don't live with self-awareness and consciousness? And so we're wanting to promote, when we talk about authentic power as opposed to force, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to create an awareness of what my personal hang-ups are, of what my wounds are, that pushes me into an ego state rather than into my authentic power. There's David Hawkins wrote a book on, what is it called? Power versus force, and understanding the difference between authentic power and a power where we use our whip, so to speak. And so how do we encourage people that we lead to then also step into their power? And so I'm wanting to speak to leadership and growth, and I'm wanting to focus on this issue of fear. And so I'm I'd like to ask you, maybe I'll just go there right now. I want to ask you to think about how you would complete the sentence. And the sentence is, if I had not been so afraid, I would have. But before we do that, I'm going to stop share for a moment, actually. Before we do that, because I want to see you too. I'm wanting to create a safety container for us to really consider that question, and maybe even one or two people speak to it. And so I'd like to invite you to take this pledge of confidentiality. Are you willing to go there? Give me a hands up, give me a, you go to your reactions at the bottom and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or can we go there? I'm not seeing anybody giving me thumbs up or thumbs down. Guys, this is about you participating. There we go. We've got Tahira, Iman, Alex Granger. I see more of them. So if you don't want to engage in it, you don't have to. But here's how we go. Can you put your left hand on your heart? And then hold your right hand up. So let me go back to share screen so that you can see this. Hold your right hand up, and so to speak, facing the audience here. And make this pledge, and you can let me lead and you can just follow. I, and you can say your name, from my heart to your heart, I pledge that I will hold sacred all that you share here today. Is everyone allowed to put on their mic so we can hear each other say that, please? Just for the second, and put it off again. And we'll do it again. Okay, so let's go. I Patricia Hendricks, say your own name. From my heart to your heart, I pledge that I will hold sacred.
I pledge that I will hold sacred
all that you share here today.
all that I share here today.
Thank you. Thank you. I wonder how that makes you feel. If you want, you could put your comments in the chat. So, because I think this, often when we do this in a group, it shifts the energy, and it shifts people's sense of safety, and it shifts people's sense of connectedness to each other. So it'd be nice to see some comments in the chat. And then let me speak to that, and let me ask you to do another little exercise, understanding that Robert Kuhn, in this book called Deep Change, says you either engage deep change in your life, or you're engaging slow death. You either engage deep change or slow death. And this requires a serious level of self-awareness, you know, discovering what you understand. We make every single decision out of fear or faith. Every single decision out of not fear, only fear or faith, but fear or courage. And courage is bringing your heart into a space. That's what we mean when we say courage. So if you are not willing to engage this deep change, if you're not willing to take chances, you kind of just pull back in your life all the time. And some of you might have experienced that already. I know I've experienced that many times. And so can you think about that for a second? And I'll give you just 3 seconds to think about completing the sentence for yourself, nobody else, just for yourself. If I had not been so afraid, I would have. If I had not been so afraid, I would have. And so I'm going to stop share for a second again and ask you, not how you completed the sentence, as much as what did it feel like for you just bringing that thought up, just engaging that understanding of what held you back. And can we put mics on again for you when you do want to talk, and keep it off for when you don't want to? Can we have just 2 or 3 comments, please? What did it feel like? Somebody, anybody? Nobody's going to answer. So remember, I spoke about courage, and I'm wondering if someone would have the courage to speak up. A conscious leader is someone who develops their growth and steps into their power. Tuhira wants to answer. Please, Tuhira, put your mic on.
Hi there, good afternoon. I think for me...
We can't hear you all that well, Tuhira. Can you go louder?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I think for me, answering that question made me realize that fear holds you back from things that are easily achievable if you put your mind to it. If you don't necessarily succumb to the fear, you can achieve a lot of things.
Right. Thank you so much, Tahira. One more comment. Iman, you wanted to say something? No?
Yes, sorry, I also just wanted to share some insights because for myself, asking myself the question, really sitting back and thinking about it. And sometimes what you really want to achieve is something that you just need to put on the back burner. And you need to just really focus on other things because other things are more important, and as an alumni, you're more focused on, okay, I need to start working, I need to get some experience, I need to gain working experience. And I think that was the biggest thing for myself. So as Nazana mentioned, it is important to also join small companies. It's not necessarily that you need to join bigger companies and, ensure that you have a big title next to your name with the company that you're with. So in my case, like I said before, I would need to, just take any opportunity that came, about. And for myself, it was just very important for me to first see what the working world is all about. And then also just build my experience, within the working world and see, practically how business actually works. Because for myself, and I don't mind sharing, my biggest thing is that I would want to start my own company. I would like to, have my own firm. So I think, that, and I mean, just thinking about it, having to seriously think about it as well. For myself, it's challenging as well because yes, I have a degree. I have been a student, but I don't have a disposable skill. I can't sew, so I can't sew and sell things. I can't bake and sell things because it's not a disposable skill that I have. My skill is more like, okay, if I'm going to start a business, I feel like I need to first have a business plan. It needs to be legit. I need to register my business and I'll take it from there because I can't just make things to sell. So I think that is the biggest challenge for me. Yes,
thank you, Iman. Thank you. I think you make a very important point, and I want to say the two are not mutually exclusive. You have in mind what it is you do want, and you have in mind what it is you have to do on your way there. But it is still true that in every moment we make decisions out of either fear or faith, and that's the difference. And I think I'm wanting to demonstrate that, or rather speak to what a conscious leader is, and speak to that. Thank you, Iman. That sense of self that we step into, and sense of self-awareness. So let me go back to sharing screen, and we're there. Come on. Right.
Leaders in locating themselves as they ask the question, where am I? We offer this tool, a line, a simple black line. At any moment, all leaders and all people are either above the line or below the line. Our location describes how we're being with what is occurring in our life right now. If we are above the line, we are open, curious, and committed to learning. If we are below the line, we are closed, defensive, and committed to being right. Stop right now and simply ask yourself, where am I? In this now moment, am I above the line or below the line? Typically, when people are below the line, they believe certain things about the world. For example, they believe there is not enough. It could be that there's not enough money, or time, or space, or energy, or love. People below the line also believe that their story about the situation is right. People below the line also believe that there is a threat out there. Something or someone is threatening their desire for approval, control, or security. And people below the line see the situation as serious. The deeper below the line they are, the more serious things look. People below the line tend to behave certain ways as well. They tend to cling to an opinion, find fault and blame, gossip, explain, rationalize and justify, get overwhelmed, and avoid conflict or pursue conflict for the sake of winning. When people are above the line, they believe that learning and growing are more important than being right. They believe that all people and circumstances are their allies, here for their growth. They believe that from a distance, almost everything is funny. People above the line live in curiosity, listen deeply, speak unarguably, question all their beliefs, and live a life of play. Now, knowing what you know about being above or below the line, where are you? One thing to know as you consider this question: we are hardwired to go below the line. Literally, our brain is programmed to perceive threat, and when it does, a chemical cocktail courses through our veins, and we go below the line. This reaction was designed to help us survive in the presence of a real threat to our physical survival. An issue for modern-day leaders is that often our brains can't tell the difference between a threat to our physical survival and a threat to our ego or identity. We react and get defensive when we experience a threat to our ego. So in many ways, being below the line is natural and normal. But when we are below the line, we're not in a state, literally brain state, of high creativity, collaboration, innovation, and relational connection. We're simply trying to survive. Leaders today can't thrive if they're in survival mode. So the first activity of conscious leadership is location, location, location. In this now moment, where am I? Telling ourselves and others the truth about our current location begins the great conversation.
And so, I have 20 minutes to talk about something that we unpack over the period of 12 whole months. And I thought bringing this video to you is possibly just sort of a peek into an understanding of what conscious leadership is and why it is important in every moment of your life. And I so wish I could take comments, but I know that I'm going to go over time if I do. And so this is the input for me on an understanding of, or maybe asking yourself if you want to know more about how to become to remain a conscious leader if you already are that. And so I'm very loath to, but I can't, unfortunately, have to move to the next slide.
Leaders in
come on.
themselves as
I don't understand.
leaders in locating themselves.
There we go. So we said we can talk about conscious leadership and personal mastery and what therefore is personal mastery. I don't lecture. I would normally have engaged you as an audience on what you believe personal mastery is. But at its root, it is about self-awareness. And it is about the willingness to connect to self. Because, earlier on, when we spoke about what we have to do now, often we then set aside what we're feeling, or our connectivity to ourselves, or our connectivity to the range of emotions. It was always so amazing for me when I sit with a client, a coaching client, and ask them, so what is your joy? And they're completely dumbfounded because they've set themselves aside so much in their lives that they're not connected to self. And when you're not connected to self and you don't keep reconnecting to self when things go awry in your life, then how do you stay connected to others? And if you don't have that open line of connectivity, how do you lead others? And it does require you to step into your vulnerability. And it does require courage. And it does require the knowledge that you never need to do this alone. So right now I want to ask you, and you don't have to answer this, how many of you have life coaches? I know it always seems so impossible to get a life coach when you don't have money, but speak to us. We have ways and means, because I think if South Africa is going to play its best game in world rugby, they could not possibly do it without having coaches. Likewise with you, if you're going to play your best game, understand you don't have to do it alone. And yes, we all step into stealing each other's energy and control dramas, and then we get into an addictive life where we either, out of fear, let's just say out of fear, instead of stepping into sustainable living systems. And so here's an exercise I'd like you to take home. If you know what you want in life, if you know where you're going, if you engage self-awareness, what is it that works in your favor to get where you want to get? In other words, what are the people, thoughts, foods, beliefs, behaviors, and habits, and so on, that gain you energy, that motivate you, that make you feel you can get there? And what drains you? What are the people, thoughts, foods, beliefs, behaviors, and habits that drain you? And yes, foods. I know I shouldn't do as much sugar as I do, for example. I know that wheat, when I've had bread, my energy lacks. So what is it in your environment? And then the most important question for me is, how much time are you spending in that which drains your energy? And how much time are you spending in that which gains you energy? So I'd like to take some questions at this point, and I'm going to stop share in order to do so.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patricia. Unfortunately, we are seriously short on time. So if there are any questions that would like to be posed to Patricia, if they can be put in the chat, and we will then pose them to you post-event. But we do need to make allowance for our other speakers who have also run into some time difficulties. But Patricia, thank you very much for absolutely insightful presentation. Ladies and gents, there is Patricia's the contact details and the offer that she is making to attendees today. So, if there is anybody that would like to take her up on her offer, feel free to reach out to Patricia at Leadership. But once again, Patricia, thank you very much for your participation in today's session. It is highly appreciated. And ladies and gents, this is not the last time that we will be engaging Patricia. Much like Hayden and Cindy, we will be embarking on a deep dive around this topic. This was merely just a launch to be able to give you some insight in terms of where to start, but this is certainly by no means the end of the journey. It is merely just the beginning. So, Patricia, once again, thank you very much. We really appreciate your.
Thank you. And let me just say that if you haven't taken these contact details, you can also sign up for this offer via the alumni office. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Ladies and gents, I'd like to now introduce to you a former colleague of mine at the UCT Graduate School of Business, Ms. Sheila Yabo. She's the current program manager at the US, the GSB solution space. But, Sheila is incredibly dynamic. She's a venture builder, and, she is keen on empowering high impact early stage startups. So without further ado, Sheila, thank you very much for availing yourself. And we do understand that you do need to be leaving shortly. So thank you very much for waiting with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niven. And once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. We don't have a lot of time. So I was invited to really talk about entrepreneurship and I guess my role in entrepreneurship and supporting early stage ventures in the South African ecosystem. So I think we have about 10 to 15 minutes for my slot. So I really have three points that I would be talking to. Firstly, just a bit about my own background, how I ended up working and supporting entrepreneurs in South Africa and across the continent. I will then talk about my role on a day-to-day basis of what I do and relating it to the opportunities in entrepreneurship and how you as UWC alumni can tap into those opportunities. So firstly, I'm Sheila Yabo. By training, I'm a business strategist, so I'm really passionate about building systems and processes that make our businesses succeed, whether it's a university, it's an organization, it doesn't matter what type of an organization it is, just optimizing and improving productivity. I'm really passionate about venture building, so I love new ideas. So when someone wakes up one day, they have a business idea, just watching that idea from just being an idea and becoming a full business that can, make an impact and into our economy, employing people. I'm also a very big impact advocate, whatever impact means for that specific business. I'm also a budding angel investor. So I think in the long term, I would love to spot talent and invest in talent, whether it's a business or at an individual basis. So I grew up in Cape Town, grew up in Nyanga. Yes, it was very rough. I know when people think of Nyanga, you really don't think that, you would make it that far in life. So I went to a township high school, township primary school, and then I think I was those few lucky enough to escape those circumstances. So I did all of my qualifications at UCT. So sorry, I'm not from UWC, but I really am big at ecosystem building. So acknowledging that we don't all exist in a vacuum, we all exist in the same economy, the same ecosystem. So the better we work with each other, the better we improve our country and Africa as a whole. I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion. So I'm a champion of how do we create opportunities, whether it's jobs, whether it's businesses, whether it's access to certain spaces, products and services that are inclusive and that are improving the livelihoods of the majority of the population. I also say that I'm quite a dot connector, so I'm always looking at, how can UWC work with UCT to improve this, or if there's an entrepreneur that has a product, I'm always that person who's looking at how can we provide the space or tap into other partners so that we leverage on growth. So in a nutshell, that is me. I currently head up the solutions space. It's an incubator, an accelerator. It really depends on at what phase we interact with the ventures. So the solution space is an ecosystem for early stage startups at the University of Cape Town. We don't only support the University of Cape Town though. So we support startups across the ecosystem. So you could be from CPUT, from UWC, as long as we see the impact in the venture that you are trying to build. We support you. I know earlier on, there's a lady that was talking about her challenges in, how do you set yourself up as a business, registering a business and also just verifying that that idea will probably make you money and create jobs in the long run. So that's the space that I'm in. We run various programs and they are all to support and nurture the next leaders in SA and Africa as a whole, but focusing on how do we support SMEs and entrepreneurs to have a space where they can take their ideas from just being an idea to becoming startups. As I said earlier on, I'm also very big on building the ecosystem. And I think that we are lucky that we are in this space and we are in higher education. So I always urge people, if you are not finding employment or you are not fitting into a 9-to-5, and there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5, I think I'm a great example of how you can shape that in your career to make sense for you, but also leverage on other opportunities. But there's also an opportunities to start your own thing. We all know that SMEs and startups are actually the backbone of the economy. And not just only the financial terms, but a lot of our people have access to products and services because there's mamas on the streets who are selling veggies, there's the spaza shops, and then, you know, as you grow into the business, how those opportunities can create impact not only for you as an entrepreneur, but our country as a whole. And I think just to talk about a bit about opportunities in entrepreneurship, you are not an entrepreneur just by having an idea and starting a business. I think entrepreneurship also presents opportunities even within organizations. I enjoyed the presentation by the Unilever guys, and just showing initiative within you know, business units or organizations. I was sitting and listening to both of them, and I was quite amazed by how actually you could identify how entrepreneurial they are. They are able to think on the spot. They are able to convince other people that this is something that is going to work based on where they come from and how they see the world. So I think when you look at opportunities in entrepreneurship, it's not only just because you're an entrepreneur, but also how do you position yourself in the future of work. It's not even the future, is currently. If people are recruiting, I know for sure if someone sent you their CV, you interviewed them and there's 2 candidates, the only thing that will set them apart from their degrees and experience is then their ability to think on the spot. And I always say, you know, even big corporates and organizations are looking for that skill in a person to say, yes, you have this degree from UWC, but what else can you offer? So I think that's just an opportunity in that you can, you know, try and improve or take up a skill that will able to demonstrate that you are able to come up with new products and new ways of doing things within organizations. I also think that, you know, with our country, unemployment, I know it's at an all-time high, and unfortunately it's the youth that are mostly unemployed. There's research that was done by an institution in the National Development Plan, and they actually said that by 2030, 90% of the jobs are going to come from SMEs and startups. So I guess because we are talking about UWC recent alumni and also alumni from other years, it's also important to understand that yes, you can be job hunting, looking for work at other places, but also there's a real opportunity to look at in your own areas, in your own families, looking at, you know, the difference in how an average South African and a middle class person is able to access different things, different products, different resources, even different spaces according to where they are, and really saying, we know that things have shifted, but we have a long way to go as a country. And you as an entrepreneur or as a budding entrepreneur, the ability to identify that in this market, there's space in food and beverages, for instance. Nutrition is a big thing in our country. So just looking at, you know, the opportunities that exist for youth, and opportunities that exist within entrepreneurship. And of course, having the goal of, while you are going into entrepreneurship, to sustain yourself and your family, but thinking long term and big impact on how you can get into this space and improve your own life and others through creating employment and new products. Lastly, I mean, if you look at my profile on LinkedIn, you'll see I work with a lot of technology-based startups. And I think to end, I know it's a very attractive space. We all want to get there. Venture capitalists and investors, everyone wants to invest in technology. But the challenge that I want to leave you with today is actually there's research. I can't remember the institution now, whether it was the UN. They did research, and actually South Africa came as one of those countries where, yes, we have improved in terms of technology adoption. So I think about 53% of South Africans have access to the internet one way or another. But the challenge that I'm bringing to you is to say that actually, even though most of us have access to the internet, to smartphones, not everyone has access to unlimited Wi-Fi. Not everyone is able to afford data. We know that data it's crazy. The amount of money that you have to pay just to access job search engines, job search websites. And the challenge that I want to bring to you is to say, how do we leverage on this connectivity and this technology to share information, but also to build inclusive technologies? So when you are thinking of opportunities in startups or in the SME sector, think about how do we bring everyone with, so not leaving behind anyone, or not building technologies that actually make the gap or the digital divide even bigger. So if you're thinking of opportunities, think of how can this booming technology in Africa can be leveraged to build inclusive technologies so that the lives of the normal person on the street, they are improved, or the delivery and the logistics of getting our people the basic of resources, products, and services is actually improved. I think, you know, the highlight, or not even the highlight, I think COVID-19 has really highlighted the challenges that have been existing for a while. So just to make an example with what I'm talking about with building inclusive technologies, if you look at when we had the lockdown last year, so I have a 9-year-old, he goes to school. He was able to continue with his studies and adapt quickly because we have internet access, we have Wi-Fi, we live in a suburb, but in my same community, my same nieces didn't have the same access because they didn't have access to the internet. Their teachers were not on Zoom, their schools were not adapting quickly. And that is exactly what I'm talking about, that while technology is progressing, it's increasing, connectivity is increasing, we are leaving so many South Africans behind. And I think there's really an opportunity for young people, and that is you on this call, whether you are in organizations, you're working for organizations, to just influence and make sure that no one is left behind and that we are all developing as a nation. I think I will end there, because once I start talking about this, I'll talk the whole day. I think I can take questions for the next 5 minutes, Niven, if that's fine with you.
Sheila, we have actually run out of time already. However, I am going to request that any questions be routed through my office, and we can pose it to you. Sheila, if you would be in a position at some point later, avail yourself for a more comprehensive session with our unit, because I think that the two key things that I would like to just elicit is the fact that you're a dot connector, and I think as a community, as communities, we should all aspire to be dot connectors, and not, as you say, not leaving anybody behind. So I think that is absolutely critical. So Sheila, yeah, sorry, ma'am.
I'd be happy to do that. Before I leave, I'll also just drop my LinkedIn profile on the chat. So if you want to reach out or if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sheila. We are highly appreciative. You are, I mean, you're growing in leaps and bounds, and you know, just your skill and expertise is highly appreciated. So, ladies and gents, thank you very much to you, Sheila. Much appreciated, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Ladies and gents, our alum, I'll now like to introduce to you our Director of the Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at UWC, Charlene Duncan. Charlene, I do appreciate your willingness to be here with us today. I think it will, you know, probably latch on to where Sheila has already left off. Charlene.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much, Nevin, and the rest of your team for giving me this opportunity. I've shortened my presentation quite a bit. I'm mindful that we've been online for a long time. And I think what excites me is that there's so many cross lines. So there's such a lot of connectivity around, you know, what everyone has said. Just thinking back to when Nazrana spoke, she spoke about collaboration, and she started speaking about not working in silos, and just listening to Sheila now speak about being a dot connector. I think, you know, already, and we've heard the word network a lot, there's a lot of synergy in terms of what we're doing today. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to very briefly, I'm going to try and do this in 10-15 minutes because I'm mindful of time. For those of you who do know me, I am extremely passionate about this topic, and I can talk on, and what I'm going to try and do in 10 and 15 minutes is something that normally takes a good few hours. But I want to just almost stir and ignite some thoughts and some energy, and I'm hoping that will just get you going in terms of thinking about entrepreneurship. You know, we don't often think of entrepreneurship as a career. Entrepreneurship is something that we end up doing because we can't get a job. We don't make a conscious effort, and I'm not going to repeat a lot of what Sheila has said, and also just some of the energy and the thoughts that we got from Unilever. But I want to challenge us all to think about entrepreneurship as a career, because it is a career. You know, when you embark on this journey of entrepreneurship, there's one other thing that I think is important to highlight, particularly for us as South Africans. When you embark on the journey of entrepreneurship, you are going to fail. You know, failure is an important component, developmental component, and it's important to be able to fail so that you can know how to pick yourself up and get moving again. But in our culture and in our communities, failure is seen as a negative experience. And so we are taught that entrepreneurship isn't a career. You know, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't really have a job, you're lazy, you can't find a job. And we are also kind of taught that it's not okay to fail. You know, failure is not part of our developmental strategy. And so here are these two things which I basically just want to plant. There's not enough time to unpack all of that, but to get you to think about that. And I want to make the case this afternoon for highlighting that there's an entrepreneurial revolution currently taking place. We've heard some of the earlier speakers speak about why entrepreneurship is the backbone of our economy, where many of the jobs are going to come from, future jobs are going to come from, the importance of developing the local economic players. One of our earlier speakers also briefly touched on the informal economy, the spaza shops, the fruit and veg sellers, and how that will become an important aspect of our economy. But there is this entrepreneurial revolution taking place globally. And again, through COVID, we've been able to see this. We've seen that many new jobs are being created by entrepreneurs. We've seen innovation, we've seen new patents, and we've seen much new wealth coming out of this entrepreneurial revolution that I'm talking about. I also want to say, and again, Sheila touched on this, that entrepreneurship takes many, many different forms. we teach I'm going to talk a bit about an entrepreneurial mindset a bit later, and I'm going to talk about some aspects of an entrepreneurial mindset and competencies of an entrepreneurial mindset. And I want to encourage you that the competencies that you acquire through this development of an entrepreneurial mindset is not just so that you can go on to become an entrepreneur. We recognize that many of our students don't always want to become entrepreneurs, but these competencies facilitate and assist them in terms of employability. And I think a very good example of that employability and that innovative and entrepreneurial competencies that we've seen displayed today was through the stories of the two Unilever speakers who spoke to us today. I think there's another thing that I want to demystify, and that is to say that entrepreneurs come from all race, gender, age group. There is no single prototype for an entrepreneur. In fact, I believe that entrepreneurs are more different than alike. More critically, I am of the belief that they are not born, but they are made, and that in South Africa, every single citizen is rich in entrepreneurial potential. So how can we support this entrepreneurial revolution? And a lot of the work that we do, both with students at UWC, and I'm going to give you an example of more recently what opportunities we're creating for alumni. And we also do a lot of work in training and development in the enterprise development space. And I'll very briefly touch on that as well. So developing an entrepreneurial mindset has two elements. It's about the way you think and the way you act. So I can't remember who spoke about agency early on. I think Nazrana touched on that when she spoke about a growth mindset, and she spoke about self-awareness and how we see ourselves. And so that thinking component of an entrepreneurial mindset is exactly that. It's about, how do I see me? How do I understand me? How do I relate to me, others, and the world in which I operate? How can I do things more differently? How can I recognize opportunities? How can I embrace innovation and change? And again, the issue that I wanted to demystify right up front, how do we develop a tolerance for failure? The acting bit is more about the doing. So how do I experiment? How do I adapt? How do I become willing to take risk? How do I become more resourceful? How do I use some of the tenacity and the resilience that I have as a South African to overcome obstacles? And I don't want to repeat what many have said about COVID and about how COVID has exposed some of these inequalities. And I'm sure if we think through some of our COVID challenges, some of that entrepreneurial mindset, tenacity, resilience, risk, and some of the things that we had to do facilitated an easier journey for us in terms of our more recent experiences. So through this entrepreneurial mindset and many of the programs that we've designed, and we talk about experiential learning and we speak about the flipped classroom, we try and build in this entrepreneurial mindset. And what this entrepreneurial mindset is about embedding competencies. And I'm going to mention some of the competencies, and then I'm going to talk to a practical program example. So we want to build competencies like opportunity recognition. And I think that speaks to a lot of things in terms of that we've already heard this afternoon. Opportunity assessment, creative problem solving, resource leveraging, guerrilla skills, mitigating and managing risk, planning where nothing exists, value-based innovation, building and managing networks, the ability to maintain, focus, yet adapt, and implementation of something novel or new. Now, normally I would spend quite a bit of time talking through that and giving you some practical examples. But for now, I just want to highlight that that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the development of a entrepreneurial mindset, and why that mindset is so important in terms of graduate employability, and why that mindset is so important if you either want to go on to become an entrepreneur, or if you want to go on to work in corporate, academia, or government, and have that mindset of innovation, entrepreneurial, leveraging resources, team building, etc. How do you embed that in the work that you do? You know, many people, I often talk about the concept of an entrepreneurial university, again, a whole other workshop that I can talk about. But Often people say, you know, we are resource constrained. Where do we find the money? You don't always need money to be entrepreneurial. It's about looking at what do I have? And how do I repurpose, and how do I optimize, and how do I use that network collaboration, you know, connecting the dots? How do I use all of that to be more meaningful in terms of the way that I go forward? Very quickly, I want to touch on a current project which you may have heard of. It's called Startup Sprint. It's a virtual incubator. We currently have 41 participants in this program. I think we're about 9 weeks into the 14-week program. 30% of the participants are alumni. And it's the first time that we created an opportunity in a virtual incubator space, and it's not going to be the last time. It's something that we're going to be doing on an ongoing basis. So please keep a lookout for those opportunities. And this particular startup sprint is in partnership with one of our many international partners. This one is Mashuri. It's an online platform. And the idea was to target candidates who already have a business idea. The focus is around business model design and market validation. And the main objective was to set up a customer base and to get founders to actually be able to find customers and sell their products. It's a very, very exciting project. We're going to have a demo day. I'm going to, through the alumni office, invite you to that demo day so that you can have a sense of what the final product is like. And just to say that many of these competencies and many of the things that I've spoken about is built into a program like this. I did say our partner was Mashuri, who's an international partner, but we have many international partners. I'm currently also working on the US South African Higher Education Network, where we're also building a virtual incubator for the US and the 26 South African universities, working with the Department of Higher Education and Training. And here is also going to be an opportunity for alumni to be part of the pilot project, which we're hoping to launch later this year. Then one other thing I very quickly want to touch on, because I think it's so important when we think about building businesses and startups, is the whole question. And I think Sheila touched on venture funding, angel investors, and more recently we've partnered with University Impact, a university program in the US. And we are 4 UWC students currently on this program who are taught how to look at venture capital opportunities, how to engage angel investors, and we wanted to build seed funding and the whole funding venture capitalist component into our incubators right from the beginning, so that we don't set businesses up for failure, but that we build meaningful pipelines and that we speak to all the various components. One of our, Nazrana, you'd like this, one of our UWC students who was part of the first intake, and we partner UCT with us, of University Impact, has been employed by University Impact as an impact investor. And like I said, we've got 4 other students currently on the program. So just in terms of wrapping up, I also just want to share one other thing that I'm very excited about and I'm very proud of, because this is a first for the alumni office. We also have a first, and it's a first for South Africa. We have a fashion incubator at UWC that we've partnered with in terms of WSA. There's a fantastic opportunity, and I want to build an opportunity for our alumni into that as well. So I really want you to look out for that. A lot of what I'm sharing now, I'd like to think that I'm good at sharing on social media. So we've got a very interactive Facebook page. Our LinkedIn, my personal LinkedIn profile is quite updated. We have our own UWC Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation website. And we often share in UWC newsletters and online platforms. So I hope I sparked some enthusiasm for this development of an entrepreneurial mindset, that I sparked the concept of entrepreneurship is a career, that these competencies aren't only competencies that we build into our program. You know, you may say, you know what, entrepreneurship is not for me, but that you understand the link into corporate entrepreneurship, and whether you go on to work in academia or wherever else you may find yourself. So Nevin, I see you appearing there. I try to squeeze in as much as I can, and I know that I spoke very fast, but you're able to access me. I'm based at UWC. I really am passionate about seeing how we can partner with Nevin's team and how we can create more opportunities. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Charlene, thank you very, very, very much. I think you've blown everybody's socks off. And yes, I think there will be a number of opportunities that will arise, and I think it's a perfect segue. The entrepreneurial mindset. And with that, Charlene, I'd like to be able to thank you, and in doing so, introduce to you our next speaker, also fellow alumnus, Mr. Donovan Mulder. Donovan is the CEO and founder of Kinetic Skunk IT Solutions, and I think Donovan is probably one of thousands of entrepreneurs who embody, the principles of, having to be tenacious, having to be resourceful, having to take risk. You cannot be an entrepreneur and be risk averse. So with that in mind, Donovan, I'd like to welcome you to today's session, and the floor is all yours. Thank you, Donovan.
Afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Nevin. Thanks for inviting me. Most appreciated. Okay, so I guess I'll start quickly with my journey. So yeah, I graduated in, I think, 2010. I got into that honors program. We didn't have to have an undergrad degree. So I got into that with BCom IS honors. After I finished that, I think I graduated top of my class, got a first for my thesis and stuff. And then from that thesis, I actually got 3 published papers, 1 journal paper and 2 conference papers. And that really helped a lot with my career in terms of working for larger corporates and so forth. Around about 2008, before all of that, I started Kinetic Skunk with 2 other buddies. They, after a while, I kind of bought them out. Well, didn't really buy them out, it was nothing to buy, this was a piece of paper, right? And then around about November 2011, I started trading as a sole proprietor, just doing consulting and stuff, right? But leading up to this, by that time I already spent 2 stints in London, working for a consultancy called Cresta, which was a startup then. And I'm mentioning Cresta because it's a very important part of my journey and Kinetic Skunk's journey. So yeah, so then so I spent a lot of time really working there. Most of my jobs were contract jobs. I didn't really dig permanent jobs. So straight away, I wasn't looking for permanent roles or anything like that, right? So maybe I didn't have to consider that an entrepreneurial mindset or a risk-averse mindset, right? So from there, or a non-risk-averse mindset. So from there, I after started trading Kinetic Skunk, to sort of just a billion vehicle. About 2015, August 2015, became a micro business. I had my first 3 interns, and that's when things became intense, right? It was all self-funded with my personal debt, right? And so there were months where I'd pay my bond, another month I'll pay my car. Okay. So I had to alternate that. And that was quite a painful experience, humbling experience. But yeah, I stuck to my guns. Right? At some stages I didn't know how it was going to turn out. But I stuck to my guns. And now we about 30 people. and we deliver quite, the services that we deliver are software quality assurance, cloud engineering, DevOps, DevSecOps, security, automated testing, and so forth. So basically, our business is, if you can imagine the software delivery pipeline as a conveyor belt, and the people who build the things that goes onto the conveyor belt are the devs, and we take care of everything else. Right? We make sure that that software gets deployed into target environments and people can consume it, and the user base can consume it. So that is, in a nutshell, Kinetic Skunk. My personal journey is obviously tightly coupled to Kinetic Skunk, and yeah, tightly coupled to Kinetic Skunk. Yeah, and it's been quite a ride. We've got offshore clients, onshore clients. So going back to what I mentioned about Cresta earlier. So you could say I'm an alumni of Cresta as well. Out of that startup, which I worked for in the early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, and 4, I think, in London. A few of them started their own businesses, right? And one of the more successful ones called Spike 95, and I kept in contact with the guys at well, the founders of Spike 95 now, and the directors, and we're doing a lot of work together. And we've now started a project with them starting in February, where I had to onboard, start a team of 10 people, so I had to hire 10 more people, right? And that was quite and so it's been quite a journey in the last few months, painful and rewarding, exciting and terrifying at the same time, right? So I think someone mentioned something about networking. So when I worked in the UK and I started learning all these things about what we're doing now at a much in-depth level, I realized an opportunity there, and I literally told myself, learn everything about this. This is your meal ticket. I remember having that thought, right? And from there I persisted with it, persevered with it, even during you know, in 2000 when we had that .com burst, that bubble burst, and there were no jobs going around. It was quite hard. I persevered with it. And now I have a business that's built around it. We're starting our second business with our cloud technologies, and it's called the Cloud Solutions division. We've launched a new website. We have partnerships with some leading edge and cutting edge technology, purveyors or technology partners. Got sales and marketing behind it, and so forth, right? We also have a strong focus on interns. So before I got this offshore opportunity, I'd say up to 90% of Kinetic Skunk is founded on interns. I recruited from Seaput, Codex, 2KO, and so forth, right? And that is also quite a journey, because you have to build a business, train people, to work on projects, deliver on projects as well. So that's been quite exhausting, right? And that's the part of entrepreneurship that I think people don't really talk enough about. It is exhausting. It is, you need to persevere. So it's literally, the same blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, figuratively, it's that, right? It is crazy. Some nights I'll be in bed and I actually just don't know. I have to consciously take myself out of that thought-crushing situation, right? It's a tough part, right? And that's the make or break part. So I think, in my opinion, being an entrepreneur, being a business person, being someone that creates jobs, building a company is largely a function of pain and how much risk you're willing to take. Are you willing to lose everything? I've personally lost everything at least 3 times, right? And built it all back. and so forth. Right? So, and that's the non-romantic part. You know, it's very romantic to say, I'm in a startup, starting this business, you know, it's really cool, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But yeah, when it gets to the hard part, the financing part, self-funding part, I mean, you know, finding funders, your business plan is not so cool, but you believe in it and no one else believes in it and stuff. That is really, I think, where you have to, where it's make or break, right? So how much pain can you take? How much are you willing to lose? You know, I think it's a function of those two things. How many times you're willing to lose it as well, right? But I mean, if you push through, you persevere, you'll make it, right? Some people will be entrepreneurs and some people will work for entrepreneurs, right? And that's just the nature of that. I think that's all I have to say. I've got a presentation, I think. Yeah, there we go. This. Do I have enough time to go through it? Or do I want to go to questions?
Donovan, yeah, you have about 30 minutes. And I don't know if that's
okay. Let's jump to questions quickly. Yeah.
Any questions from the floor? Donovan, if I may ask a question, and I think this is what were probably some of the hardest lessons that you had to learn while in the startup phase. So I recall you made reference to HR and finance, things that were not necessarily your forte.
So the hardest, the toughest lesson that I learned is that as soon as you can replace yourself on a project, do that, even if it hits your pocket, right? And I made this mistake. I got into this really cool project, a big data project, machine learning, AI, DevOps, all the latest and the greatest stuff, right? Working with PhD, applied mathematicians, building these machine learning models to just to make you spend your money more, right? And I got into that, and it consumed me from a service delivery perspective. I was building the delivery, the pipelines to deliver those machine learning models into whatever that, and I was trying to build a business. So the two are obviously related, right? But the mistake I made was not agreeing with the client that I could replace myself. For instance, maybe if I at that point said, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice 50% of that revenue and bring in 2 juniors, and they will be able to do maybe 50% of what I do in 3 to 6 months time with with focused training. So obviously they come at a certain level, they've got maths, they've got com science, etc., and they can program, right? And that would have helped me personally and the business really accelerated, because after that project, it literally took me about 18 months to recover, to get my energy levels back, to not be exhausted. Maybe it would have taken me sooner, but obviously building a business, so yeah, took me about 18 months, and that takes a toll on your health. Your health, because you're not sleeping enough, you're working extremely long hours. There were weekends where I put in 24 hours of work, 24 to 30 hours, easy 16 hours on a Saturday, 10 more on a Sunday, no problem, right? And that takes a toll. So in conclusion, as soon as you can replace yourself to deliver a service, right? And this is only in a services-based business. I'm not talking product here, just services. Replace yourself, because you will then have because then you can realize other opportunities. So things. So they call it opportunity costs, right? If you're doing the actual work, you're losing out on realizing other opportunities. So that's the main lesson that I learned. Other things that I do is I farm out things, tax, accounting, HR, anything that I'm not good at, even admin, whatever, contracts, all works, all of that gets farmed out, right? I realize I'm really bad at admin, right? And when you've got a business, admin, believe it or not, is also a make or break thing. You have to do the paperwork that has to be compliant, etc., whatever you have to be compliant with, right? So all the stuff that you can afford to farm it out. You can get a tax practitioner to make sure your business remains tax compliant. You pay your pay as you earn. You pay your UIF, VAT, keep SARS off your back. So that's obviously worth its weight in gold. You know, I don't stress about it because I've got a great tax practitioner and accounting team. Obviously not in the business, but people who do that service for us. And I've never had any problems. So farm out your non-core business aspects to experts, people that you can trust, right? Because that's also worth its weight in gold. So yeah, two things: replace yourself as soon as you can, right? Even if it takes a hit on you can take a hit on the pocket. Second thing, farm out the stuff that you're not good at, right? And even if you're good at it, if it means that you're actually using that to work in the business, train someone to do it, and then work on your business. Yeah.
Donovan, thank you very, very much for those. I think there's an echo somewhere. Thank you very much.
Might be me, sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much for those very insightful and I think real examples. You know, I think many people, many young individuals have, as you rightfully stated, the pretty warm fuzzy feelings about being an entrepreneur, but as you rightly stated, it's blood, sweat, and tears, and oftentimes it takes its toll on one as an individual. Jacqueline, I acknowledge you did have your hand up. I am going to ask that you please put your question in the chat box, and we will pose the question to Donovan. But we do need to move along. Donovan, once again, thank you very, very much, and wishing you everything of the best. You and Kinetic Skunk, everything of the best. You two are inextricably linked. So yeah, everything of the best to you. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Evan. It's an honor to have joined this session. Thanks.
Thanks. Ladies and gents, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you, Think Shifter, global speaker, NLP life coach, author, and thought leader, Dr. Alex Granger. Dr. Granger, thank you very much for availing yourself to be with us today. We acknowledge that we have run over time, and significantly so. But I always do believe that, where we have, these kinds of engaging conversations, it's the outcomes that is of value, and sometimes we need to trade a little bit of time in order for us to be able to, mind really deeply. So, Dr. Granger, thank you very, very much once again for being with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Naveen, and really a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here. I'm going to get straight into it so that we can try and finish on time. Definitely not going to make 3 o'clock, but I'm going to do my best. It's been great. I've been listening to all the other speakers before me, and really some good nuggets and good advice and good notes that I was taking for my own business. And as a speaker and think shifter myself, I run a few businesses, but I primarily enjoy the speaking platform, and that's where I make most of my money. So this is my happy space. So we're going to get straight into it. I want to invite you to just change your mode of view from gallery to speaker, because I'm not sharing screen, but my slides are going to appear just behind me so that you can really get an understanding of what we're going to talk about. So let's get straight into it. So I want to talk about how we can position ourselves for employment maybe, but more for life and more for business, because I think essentially there are many ways you can do it. Today, I just want to share four ideas on how I think we can do that. But to start that off, I thought I'd share a quick story of this beautiful bridge called the Choluteca Bridge, which was built in 1930 in the Honduran city of Choluteca. It was built as a state-of-the-art bridge by some of the leading architects from the US. It was built to withstand any type of natural disaster, from floods and typhoons and hurricanes. And true as Bob, in 1998, Hurricane Mitch came sweeping through Honduras, killing over 7,000 people, disrupting traffic, throwing buildings down, and literally washing away bridges and rivers. But yes, the bridge you see right over here, the Choluteca Bridge, stood firm as a testament of its structural permanence. You see, the only problem with this story is that, well, actually the river that it had once gone over, let me move myself to this side, the river, here you got the river, that it had once gone over had also shifted its course as a result of this flood. And that's really interesting for me, because it made me realize that if we don't adapt and we don't change, and we are not flexible enough and we're not agile enough, that which we think remains permanent is definitely not permanent. And just as we've seen now with the pandemic, the virus that initially hit South Africa on the 5th of March last year, now you've got these different variants. So just as much as we are adapting to the crisis, guess what? The virus is also mutating. And that made me realize that for us to be able to position ourselves into the workplace, we need to have some really critical approaches or critical skills. And I want to start off by talking about having a laser sharp mental acuity. You see, mental strength involves more than just willpower. It requires hard work and commitment. It's about establishing healthy habits and choosing to devote your time and energy to self-improvement. As we've already heard about personal mastery, that's exactly what it is. And I also do a little bit of personal mastery training myself, and absolutely correct. Self-awareness is at the heart of that. And I love the fact that she had put up on that slide the idea of creative tension. Very, very important. So the ability to concentrate on something in your environment and to direct your mental effort towards it is critical for learning new things or achieving goals and performing well across a wide variety of institutions and situations. And so whether you're trying to finish a report, or whether you're trying to look for a job, or whether you're trying to complete a marathon, your ability to focus can mean the difference between success and failure. In fact, Zig Ziglar puts it very nicely when he says, I don't care how much power, brilliance, or energy you have. If you don't harness it and focus it on a specific target and hold it there, you're never going to accomplish as much as your ability warrants. And maybe I'll just ask you to do a quick exercise, and I'll just remove myself from the screen quickly here. As you can see on your screen, there's this blue faded circle, and in the middle, there's a red dot. If you take about 5 to 10 seconds and to focus intently on the red dot, what do you think happens? Just do that for about 5 seconds. Concentrate intently just on the red dot. Focus completely on that. What do you see? What happens? It's almost a rhetorical question, because I think if you do it right, you will realize that the blue circle that goes around that red dot, it disappears. It's amazing. Our brains are so powerful that they can actually focus and concentrate on something so powerfully that all the distractions that seem to be around us, the distractions of the inability, yes, I see you, Jen, the blue ring disappears. All the distractions of the difficulties of seeking employment, the fact that people want 3 years experience, this is the blue circle. The fact that, you know, maybe you got to start out as an intern, and that is a distraction. Maybe you need to start in a small company. That's a distraction. But look at the ultimate prize. It's the red dot. And that's a very critical thing. So although it's easier to kind of feel mentally strong when life seems simple, often true mental strength becomes most apparent in the midst of tragedy. So choosing to develop skills that increase your mental strength is the best way to prepare for life's inevitable obstacles, and there will be many. So many exercises exist that can help you develop mental strength. But let me just share with you just quickly 5 of those in the first part of my presentation. And the first one is about evaluating your core beliefs. We've all developed core beliefs about ourselves, our lives, and the world in general. Core beliefs develop over time and largely depend upon our past experiences, right? So whether you're aware of your core beliefs or not, they influence your thoughts, they influence your behavior, and they influence your emotions. Maybe not in that order. It's probably thoughts, emotions, and then behavior. But sometimes core beliefs are inaccurate and unproductive. For example, if you believe that you'll never succeed in life, you may be less apt to apply for a new job. And inadvertently, you may not present yourself well on job interviews. Therefore, your core beliefs may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So identify and evaluate your core beliefs. Look for beliefs that are black and white, and then find exceptions to the rule. Very few things in life are always or never true. So modifying core beliefs requires purposeful intention and hard work, but it can change the entire course of your life. The second thing is about expending your mental energy, expending it wisely. Wasting brain power ruminating about things you can't control drains mental energy quickly. So the more you think about negative problems that you can't solve, the less energy you'll have left over for creative endeavors. So for example, sitting and worrying about the weather forecast is not helpful. If a major storm is headed your way, worrying about it won't prevent it. You can, however, choose to prepare for it. So focus on what is in your control. The third thing you can do is replace negative thoughts with productive thoughts. Although most of us don't spend time thinking about our thoughts, increasing your awareness of your thinking habits proves useful in building resilience. And I'm going to talk about resilience a little bit later. So exaggerated negative thoughts, this manifestation of negativity, such as, I can't ever do anything right. Those kind of things hold you back from reaching your full potential, from reaching your goals. So when you see yourself in that space, catch your negative thoughts before they spiral out of control. And then what you can also do is practice, get myself out of there, practice tolerating discomfort. Being mentally strong doesn't mean you don't experience emotions. In fact, mental strength requires you to become acutely aware of your emotions so you can make the best choice about how to respond. Mental acuity is about accepting your feelings without being controlled by them, right? The next point is really, get my presentation right here. Reflect on your progress daily. Reflect on your progress daily. This is very important. Many of us don't take the time to actually reflect on our progress daily. You could be cooking, you could be relaxing at home. Take some time just to sit back and reflect. How did this day go? Do kind of like a post-mortem on the day. Did I do the things that I said I would do? Give myself a thumbs up, pat myself on the back, whatever the case may be. Today's busy world doesn't lend itself to making much time available for quiet reflection. So try and find time for that quiet reflection. The second point in my presentation is about becoming you. Michelle Obama said, for me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion. A means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. And so becoming self is really about 2 key things. It's about being authentic. You see, you cannot grow if you are not true to yourself. You might think you're getting somewhere, but in actual fact, you'll be frustrating yourself. You have to be honest with yourself about what you are passionate about and who it is you really want to be, despite critics and naysayers. The second thing is you want to believe in yourself. As author Richard Bach once wrote, he said, you are never given a dream. In fact, I might even have this as a slide. Yes, you are never given a dream without also being given the power to make it true. So no matter how discouraged you might get at times, you must know that if you can dream something, then you will always have everything in you to make it come true. You just have to believe in yourself. My third point this afternoon is about grit. So often we think that grit is about how we respond to extreme situations, or that big comeback from a major setback. But what about everyday circumstances? You see, I would argue that mental resolve is like a muscle. It needs to be worked to grow and to develop. So choose to do the 10th rep when it would be easier to do just 9. Choose to create when it would be easier just to consume. Choose to ask the extra question when it would be easier to accept the status quo. So prove to yourself over and over again in many ways that you have enough guts to get in the ring and to do battle with life. And so grit isn't about getting an incredible dose of inspiration or courage. It's about building the daily habits that allow you to stick to a schedule and overcome challenges and sort of get rid of the distractions over and over again. Mentally tough people don't have to be courageous or more talented or more intelligent. They might just need to be more consistent. And I think of basketball player LeBron James. I mean, I was up this morning watching the Lakers playing against the Suns. Game number 3 today. They're in the playoffs, first round. And here's the thing about LeBron James, 18th season in the league. How does he keep this thing going? It's about consistency. He looks after his health. He eats right. He gets to practice before everyone. He works really tough during practice. He's like a semi-coach. After everyone's left, he remains and he's doing further practice. That's how he achieved it. You think of any of the basketball greats, whether it was Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or Akeem Olajuwon, any one of those, or any sport for that matter, consistency seems to be something that keeps coming up. Consistency. Ask yourself that question. How consistent have you been over the last few days, over the last few months? And there's ways that we can develop this grit. The first one is not giving up easily. You've got to be like that dog on the bone. You don't let go. You don't let go. You can be pinched or whatever. You don't give up easily. The second thing you can try to do is work even harder. There's no shortcuts to this thing. You've got to work harder. You've got to keep, your eye on that prize, and working harder is the way to do it. The third thing is try to maintain your focus. We've already spoken about mental acuity, that focus. Keep it there. Don't get, blindsided by the many distractions. Finish what you begin. I know many entrepreneurs that I've trained where they had a great idea. They started it. It didn't seem to take off. After 3-4 months, they gave up the idea. They started another idea. When I see them 2 years later, hey man, how's that idea going? Oh no, I'm already on idea number 4. Don't give up easily. Finish what you began. And then overcome those setbacks. Break them down, chunk them down or chunk them up. Break them down and try to understand the little pieces. Where did we go wrong? Where did we fail? As we heard just from our previous speaker, it could be that you failed because you didn't take note of your admin side, and suddenly now you've got a lot of tax debt. And then the tax man comes after you, and then all that money you thought you were making has got to go to the tax man. Or whatever it is, your server slacked or your product wasn't quality assured. All those things are important, but you've got to chunk them down. The last part of my presentation is about choosing courage over comfort. The road to success can be an uphill, and that climb takes courage. The noted author Brené Brown defines courage as leading with your heart. Literally, the English word for courage is derived from the Latin word for heart. It means wrestling with failure and putting yourself out there even when the outcomes are uncertain. It's not about being a superhero who doesn't show fear. It's about embracing transparency and vulnerability. This vulnerability, she says, is the birthplace of not only courage, but also trust, innovation, creativity, and adaptability, which are all foundational to success. And so Brené Brown advocates for choosing courage over comfort to enact the real gritty process of progressing towards your goals. This discomfort involves defining your own version of success, one that extends beyond the safe scope of what you're supposed to do. And so how to do it? Challenge yourself to take risks. Share a candid idea in a meeting. Reach out to a colleague or a friend you don't know that well, or ask for feedback so that you can grow and improve. On your own, schedule a brainstorming session where you can ask yourself honest, scary questions. What is it that you truly want? What would you do if you had no limits? Make a list of all these possibilities, anything and everything that excites and motivates you. I want to close off with a quick story. And it's a story of my own courage. 2 years ago, I was in the city of Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. I go there annually for what I call my solocation, but it's really a business treat for myself. I go for 3 days. I spend 2 days literally in the Victoria Falls rainforest, and I spend 1 day doing proper strat. I mean, I even book speakers, guys. I dial them in and I ask them to give me a pep talk on leadership and personal development. And then on the last day, I always try to find some activity to do to kind of, do something of some fun nature. I went to the travel desk and the guy said, "Have you ever walked with lions?" I said, "Do you see the color of my skin?" Anyway, I booked it, guys. $120 later, found myself in the middle of the bush walking with this lion. But there were rules of engagement. I didn't rock up there all strong and courageous. I was fearful. But when I learned the rules of engagement, I was more at ease and I understood how to navigate walking with a lion. There were several rules. One of the rules was don't run, because if you run, you will become a meal. You can't outrun a lion. Number 2, don't tie your shoelaces, because the moment you come down to the lion's level, it thinks you're trying to confront it. You will become a meal. Number 3, here is a stick that you can carry while you're walking with the lion. I'm sure you can see I'm holding a stick in this image. The stick is not to hit the lion. The stick is for if the lion suddenly turns on you. Well, the lion's actually a big cat. It's very playful. So just take the stick and hit the ground next to you and say, "Hey, kitty, kitty." I said, "Yeah, right." That ain't gonna work. 45 minutes of walking with this lion taught me courage. I walked behind it. I was led by it. Sometimes when you're looking for employment, you have to understand authority. This is the king of the jungle. And I understood my space and my place, but I developed my own courage and I picked up some leadership traits. 3 weeks ago, I was in Zambia in Victoria Falls, and I walked with a cheetah. Totally different type of animal. I mean, there you definitely don't want to run because there's no way you can outrun a cheetah. And so there are many lessons we can learn from just looking around nature and the world. But today I thought I'd just share those 4 key points about mental acuity and developing courage and what we've just spoken about right now. This is the courage. I think we talked about grit and authenticity, becoming you. I want to close off with a quote by Oprah. She says, "Doing the best at this moment puts you in the best place for the next moment." And the word I want to highlight here is best. It's doing is probably secondary for me because I have to do something, some action. If I'm going to look for employment or if I want to get into a particular company, I'm going to have to do something. But that something must be the best of myself. I must not show up with mediocrity or complacency. I must show up with the best, the highest level, my best, my absolute highest level. And that for me, my friends, is what's going to make me positioned much better so that I too can take advantage of the opportunities that will present themselves. I know this was fast. I tried to rush through it in the interest of time, but I hope that it was at least insightful enough for you to take away a few learnings that will position you better for your work and for your future. I wish you every success and God's blessings. If there are questions, happy to take them if there's time. If not, Naveen, you know where to find me. I'm happy to answer questions post this, but thank you again for your time.
Alex, thank you very, very much. I mean, that was just absolutely perfect ending to the day. And kudos to you for the courage you displayed walking with that lion and the cheetah. But the one slide that you used, you are never given a dream without also being given the power to make it true. And I think that is so true. And if nothing else that we leave our alumni with today is that we all have it within ourselves to be able to be able to achieve. So Alex, thank you very, very much. We are not going to be taking any specific questions right now, Alex, but we welcome everybody to be able to direct any questions, to you via the office. once again, thank you very much. It was the perfect ending. Ladies and gentlemen, before we close, I would like to first and foremost like to take the opportunity to acknowledge all our speakers. First and foremost, Nazrana, thank you once again for your insight and your expertise. I know you are going to receive quite a number of emails in Hayden and Cindy's absence. Thank you to them as well. Patricia, thank you very much for availing yourself to be with us today. Charlene, what you have delivered and the work that you are doing at UWC, I know is going to attract a number of young budding entrepreneurs. To Donovan, who has also stepped off, thank you for those real insights, the true face of an entrepreneur. You can see the dark rings under Donovan's eyes. I suppose comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur. And then of course Sheila, just in terms of her insight, her insights, which was also incredibly valuable. And of course to you, Alex, thank you very much once again. Grit. I think that is probably one of the major takeaways for me today. And then most importantly, I'd like to be able to thank my team, without whom this would not have been possible. I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Sumaya Barnes, who was instrumental in realizing today's event. Sumaya, where are you? There you are, Maya. Sumaya was the project lead on today's session. So to you, Sumaya, thank you very, very much. And to Najma, thank you very much for supporting Sumaya through this journey, this continuous, and evolutionary journey of learning that we find ourselves in. And then of course to Avril as well. Thank you very much for the support that you have offered us as a team. To our alum and to everybody that is still on the call, the Alumni Office is in the midst of a revolutionary process, something that has not been embarked on at UWC ever before, and that is the launch or the development and eventual launch of what we be simply entitling the UWC Alumni Portal. So the Alumni Portal is an online site with the sole directive of keeping you as our alumni informed of what is happening within the university. So, if you think of it as a social media tool for your alma mater, but, not only that, the portal offers us the ability to be able to keep in touch with you, but also for you to be able to communicate to the university. And it also affords you the opportunity to update your details, to connect, to build your network. It also gives you an opportunity to, create your own networks, catching up with old colleagues, old friends, students, whether it be, the affiliation to a RES or a student association. So the reason why we've chosen to launch this portal at the Young Alumni Series is to be able to offer to you as our young alumni the opportunity to eventually be connected to a mentor. Because we do realize that mentors in today's day and age are few and far between. And, as UWC, we realize we need to be able to support our young alumni more now than ever before, to assist you and support you in your career growth. So keep an eye on the space, keep an ear out for comms that would relate to the portal. And Najma, if there's anything else that you would like to be able to say that relates to the portal, Najma is also key and instrumental to the portal itself. So I'd offer her an opportunity to say something if I've not taken the wind out of the sails.
Thank you, Niven. But I think you've covered it all. As Niven has said, just keep an eye on our social media pages, follow at UWC Alumni, and update your details so you get our emails and know when the portal is launching. And we're really excited for this. Very, very, very excited.
Thanks, Najma. So I think we've overrun quite significantly, but I think it was a really wonderful experience. At least for us as a team, it was an incredible opportunity to have such phenomenal speakers. And thank you to each and every single one of you who took the time out of your day to spend it with us in this forum. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we bid you farewell and all of the best from the Alumni Relations Office at the University of the Western Cape, the Directorate of Institutional Advancement, and the UWC as a whole. Thank you very much.